Have you ever wondered how an atomic bomb works? It's a question that has intrigued and frightened humanity ever since the devastating explosions in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The secret lies in the realm of the ultra-small, the atom. Atomic bombs, also known as nuclear bombs, harness the power of nuclear fission. This is a process where the nucleus of an atom, specifically uranium-235 or plutonium-239, splits into two smaller nuclei. It's like splitting a log of wood, but on an incredibly microscopic scale. And just like when you split a log, energy is released. But here's where things get extraordinary. The energy that's unleashed during nuclear fission is astronomical, to say the least. We're talking about an amount of energy that is millions of times greater than any chemical reaction. So how does this all come together to create the powerful explosion of an atomic bomb? Let's dive in. The first step towards an atomic explosion is reaching what's known as a critical mass. Let's break this down. The term critical mass refers to the minimum amount of fissile material needed to sustain a nuclear chain reaction. This fissile material could be enriched uranium-235 or plutonium-239. So it's all about the right quantity. Too little and you won't get a chain reaction. Too much and you could prematurely set off the bomb. Now imagine, if you will, a group of atoms. They're all just hanging out, not doing much. But once you add enough fissile material into the mix, things start to change. The atoms start splitting and energy begins to be released. This is the point of no return. The atoms are now on a self-sustaining path of destruction. Once this critical mass is achieved, the stage is set for the next phase of the process. There are two main designs for atomic bombs, the implosion design and the gun-type design. Let's begin with the implosion design. Imagine you have a sphere of fissile material like uranium-235 or plutonium-239. Now, if you were to wrap this sphere in conventional explosives and detonate them, the resulting shockwave would compress the fissile material. It's like squeezing a balloon full of air, but instead of air, you have a potentially devastating nuclear reaction in your hands. This compression, ladies and gentlemen, is no child's play. It increases the density of the fissile material, bringing it closer to the critical mass, the point at which a nuclear chain reaction can sustain itself. The beauty, or rather the terror, of the implosion design is that it's incredibly efficient. It allows a bomb to use much less fissile material than it would otherwise need, while still achieving a nuclear explosion. Now, let's briefly touch on the alternative, the gun-type design. This design propels a subcritical piece of uranium-235 into another subcritical mass. The resulting supercritical mass then undergoes a nuclear chain reaction. Simple, right? But the gun-type design is less efficient and requires more fissile material than the implosion design. With the critical mass achieved and the bomb design in place, we move on to the next phase, the chain reaction. At the heart of an atomic bomb's destructive power is a chain reaction. This isn't a chain reaction like dominoes falling one after the other. No, this is far more potent and infinitely more destructive. It all begins with a neutron source, typically composed of polonium-beryllium, a combination known for its efficiency in producing neutrons. Now imagine for a moment a quiet, serene pool of water. You toss in a pebble and it creates ripples, right? Well, in our atomic scenario, the neutron source is that pebble. As it introduces neutrons into the fissile material, it metaphorically sends ripples through the atomic landscape. These neutrons, akin to our ripples, collide with the nuclei of the fissile atoms, setting off a cascade of events. This collision isn't a gentle brush or a mere bump in the atomic road. It's a full-on split, a violent cleaving of one into two. The fissile atoms, once whole, now find themselves divided, each splitting into two or more smaller nuclei. This process, known as fission, is not a quiet, peaceful event. It's a tumultuous, energetic release, a veritable atomic fireworks display. But that's not all. Along with these smaller nuclei, each fission event releases more neutrons. These newly freed neutrons then repeat the process, colliding with other fissile atoms, causing them to split and releasing even more neutrons. It's a self-sustaining cycle, a chain reaction, each link propelling the next, each fission instigating another. And with every split, every fission, there's an accompanying release of energy. This isn't a meager amount of energy we're talking about. No, it's a tremendous, staggering amount, each fission event contributing to a growing pool of atomic power. This energy amasses, builds, and multiplies, driven by the relentless chain reaction. This rapid chain reaction leads to the final and most devastating phase of an atomic bomb, the explosion. It's a cataclysmic release of energy, a destructive force unlike anything else in our world. But that, dear listener, is a story for another time. The culmination of these processes is a massive release of energy, the nuclear explosion. This cataclysmic event is the result of the rapid chain reaction that we've just discussed. As the fissile material reaches criticality and the chain reaction begins, a neutron source introduces neutrons into the fissile material. These neutrons collide with the nuclei of the fissile atoms, causing them to split into two or more smaller nuclei. Each fission releases additional neutrons, which then trigger more fissions, creating a self-sustaining chain reaction. The energy released in this process is immense. To give you an idea of the scale, it's comparable to the explosive force of thousands or even millions of tons of TNT. This is the destructive power of an atomic bomb, a force that can level cities, cause unimaginable destruction, and change the course of history. But it's not just the initial explosion that's devastating. The aftermath of a nuclear explosion can be just as harmful, if not more so. The residual radiation, also known as nuclear fallout, can contaminate large areas and pose a significant risk to human health and the environment for years, even decades, after the explosion. So, that's how an atomic bomb works, a process of immense power and equally immense destruction.